My wife cheated on me multiple times, including with my close friend. I see her as nothing. I trusted her completely, but each new betrayal shattered me. The lies, the secrecy, and the manipulation, everything I thought was real, turned out to be a lie. It wasn't just the affair, it was the emotional destruction that followed. It's been a crazy, angry, and painful few months. I'm sitting here at work right now feeling like my head's going to explode. I haven't seen much of my son this year, and it's been eating at me. This damn virus ruined my chance to spend the summer with him. I've been sitting with this frustration, and honestly, it's like a pressure cooker inside him. Then, the nightmare hit. September 25th, I found out my wife, of 5 years, was cheating on me. At the end of September, I found out she had been seeing someone else. I never imagined it would happen, not after all we'd been through. But it did. The whole time I've been playing detective, it felt like opening a can of worms that had no end in sight. For months, I've had this woman in my house. She's been under my roof, pretending everything was fine, while I just sit there, pretending to be oblivious. I feel like I'm about to snap at any moment. Every day, it's like I'm living in a pressure cooker. The fuse is so short now that it could burn out at any time. I haven't slept in my own bed for almost 2 months now. It's been hell. I've been sleeping on the couch, unable to touch her. It's been causing all kinds of issues. She's even accused me of cheating. She has no idea that I'm fully aware of her betrayal. But every time she tries to get close, I just have to sit there and take it. It makes me sick. Every time I look at her, I can almost feel the bugs crawling over her. I want her gone, but I have to wait. My lawyer keeps telling me not yet. This whole thing has been draining. I'm angry at myself for letting it happen again, for allowing someone to do this to me. I keep thinking, why did I let myself be in this situation? It's beyond frustrating. All I want now is for it to be over and to get my son back. I miss him so much. A little glimmer of hope came when I was Skyping with my son. It was the highlight of my day, honestly. He's the one thing that keeps me going through all this. Then, my ex-girlfriend, who's been a good friend, called. She said I looked like crap and that I needed to get out of my head. I admitted I was in a dark place and really just missed my son. That's when she asked me to come up for Thanksgiving. It felt like a small blessing and I was stoked. The road trip wasn't easy. I had to fight with my wife about why I wouldn't be spending Thanksgiving with her family. But in the end, I left at 3:00 a.m. The drive took forever, but it felt like the first time in a long time I'd get a break from the madness. I arrived at my ex's place around 10:30 p.m. The first thing I did was call her to let her know I was there. Her husband came out to greet me and let me in. He looked awful, though he's lost a lot of weight. We sat at the kitchen table, and he told me I looked like crap too. I had no energy to argue. After some small talk, he spilled everything. I told them what had been going on, every little detail. I'd been carrying this secret for too long, and when I finally let it out, I broke down. I haven't cried like that in years. It felt good to talk to someone, though. It's been a while since I had anyone to lean on. They offered their couch for me to sleep on, and I gladly accepted. That night, I was woken up by their 5-year-old daughter, who thought it would be a great idea to smother me with a teddy bear. My son woke up a little later, and when he saw me, he yelled, "Da!" and ran over to give me a big hug. That moment meant everything to me. Last year, he decided he was too big to hug his dad, but this time it was a surprise for him. I didn't tell him I was coming. It was a real mood booster. I'm in a good place right now, temporarily at least. But I know I'm going to have to face my in-laws soon, and I feel bad about not spending the holiday with them. They're good people, and they don't deserve to be kept in the dark about everything that's coming. I got home late on Sunday. It was a 1,400-mile drive, and honestly, I didn't want to see her. I didn't want to talk to her. I was exhausted, physically and mentally. So I went straight to my chair and collapsed. I hadn't slept properly in 2 months, and I've lost 15 pounds because of all the stress. I feel and look like crap, but this was the first real sleep I'd gotten in ages. The next morning, my wife tried to initiate something with me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. There was no desire. For the first time in years, my mind and body were in sync. I just couldn't get it up for her. This upset her, obviously. She got defensive and accused me of cheating, saying that he wasn't being a good husband because I hadn't been intimate with her in over 2 months. She tried to gaslight me, turning everything back on me. I was done with it. I had enough. I told her maybe it was something wrong with me. Maybe it was just a physical thing since I was 50, but she didn't buy it. No, she was convinced I was up to something behind her back. I couldn't believe her audacity. All this while, I was piecing together what had been happening. The real wake-up call for me happened on September 25th. I work in collision repair, specifically with the worst cases, the cars that have been completely wrecked. That day, I ended up cutting my leg pretty badly while working on a truck. It required a trip to the emergency room and stitches. I was in pain, and with the heavy painkillers they prescribed, I couldn't drive, so I called my wife. No answer. I tried calling multiple times, texting her, telling her he needed help. Nothing. After an hour and a half of this, I took an Uber home. We drove down my street and I saw her. There she was, standing in the doorway, making out with the GM of the place where she works, full-on kissing, right in front of my house. It was supposed to be her work day, but there she was, getting cozy with him in broad daylight. I told the driver to stop and just took a couple of pictures on my phone. I wasn't going to confront her right then. I told the driver to take me back to work. I sat in the break room for hours, my head on the table, just numb. When the painkillers wore off, I drove home in pain, both from my leg and from everything I had just discovered. She wasn't home when I got there. She came a couple of hours later, acting all concerned. She had no idea that I knew what had just happened. I asked her how her day was, and she gave me some BS about work. I wasn't buying it. A week later, I found out something I hadn't known before. She hadn't worked a Friday in 3 years. She had been lying to me this whole time. I started looking into things more seriously. I had never really used Reddit much before, but now I was deep into posts about dealing with cheaters. That's when I started reading the red flags, and it was like everything clicked. She was always on her phone, always texting, but couldn't answer my calls or texts. She'd never even looked at our chat logs. For 2 months, I was texting her in the hospital, in pain, needing her, and she didn't even acknowledge it. Not once. I was so furious that I grabbed my phone and showed her the chat log. She had the nerve to yell at me, accusing me of being the one doing something wrong. But I was done with the lies. I showed her the texts that she had ignored, the times I had desperately tried to reach her, and then I yelled at her. The one time I needed her, she ghosted me. She pulled out her phone and looked at the chat log, and then she left the house. She came back a couple of hours later, apologized, and tried to lie again. But I knew the truth. She wasn't sorry. She was just sorry she got caught. Over the next 2 months, I did everything I could to keep track of her. I installed cameras in the house. I was spying on her, seeing everything she was doing in real time. And it was worse than I imagined. She didn't just cheat with one man. She had been with several. She had been with my coworker, someone I had considered a friend for over 14 years. She had been sneaking around with him, and she had the audacity to act like nothing was wrong. They watched me propose to her. They were at our wedding, and they let me marry a woman who was already cheating on me. I discovered she was sleeping with other men in my bed, on my couch, on my kitchen table, and even in my shower. They were using my soap to wash themselves. I had to sit with that. It's almost unbearable to think about. One weekend, I went up to the property where I hunt, trying to escape it all. I invited her, but she refused. When I got back, I saw the parade of men who had been in my house, in my bed, and she didn't even bother to clean herself between them. I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to confront her, but I just couldn't. I ate the lies she fed me, apologized for the arguments, and tried to keep things together, but I knew it was all fake. The mask of calm I wore was cracking. It was all too much. I couldn't keep living this way. The lies, the deceit, the emotional toll, it was breaking me down. I had been holding on to something that wasn't even real, and I was done. I had enough of the games, enough of fake apologies, and enough of being trapped in this toxic relationship. I woke up early one morning, made myself some breakfast, and as I sat there, the plan started forming. I had to make it official. I couldn't live like this anymore, pretending everything was fine. I rented a truck, packed up all of her things, and had a friend help me move everything. I knew she'd be furious when she found out. I didn't care. She deserved nothing less than to be served the reality of her actions. I changed the locks on the house. Everything she had done to me, the cheating, the lies, the humiliation, it all needed to be gone. I packed up our bedroom furniture, the couch, the dining table, everything she had defiled. Those things were tainted. The thought of her sitting on them, of having shared them with all those men, made me sick. By the time we were finished, it was close to 11 a.m. I took a moment to compose myself before I went out and bought her flowers and chocolates. It was almost like a twisted final farewell. I wasn't doing this for her, though. I was doing it to end it, to close the door completely. I went to her work, walked in with those flowers, and kissed her on the cheek. She smiled, all sweet, thinking everything was fine. She had no idea what was coming. I told her I wanted to take her to lunch, but I had to get a checkup on my leg. I didn't tell her where I had been or what I had done. Then, I told her not to make any plans for the evening because I had something for her. I gave her a last goodbye kiss, and as I walked out, I saw her boss. I looked him right in the eye, smiled, and said, "Hey, effing Tom, how are you?" That was the moment it hit me. I wasn't the one hiding anymore. I wasn't the fool anymore. I had taken back control of my life. At 2 p.m. that day, the deputy was on his way to serve her at work. I'd already set everything in motion. It was over. I texted her a picture of me standing in front of her boss's house, a reminder of how everything had unfolded. I didn't have to say much. She knew. When I knocked on Mrs. Tom's door, I showed her everything, the photos, the videos, the undeniable evidence. She slapped me. It didn't faze me. She cried. I handed her the thumb drive with everything I knew on it, including everything I had on her husband. I didn't care about her pain. She had no idea the hell she was about to walk into. When she asked why I was doing it, I told her she deserved to know. She deserved to know the truth. And if she couldn't handle that, then it was on her. I was done. As I was leaving, my phone started blowing up with texts and calls. I ignored them all. I just went home. I didn't care about any of the fallout anymore. I changed my Facebook status to divorced and started reading through the texts from her. I saw her accusations and her demands, but none of it mattered anymore. She showed up at the house later that evening. The deputies were already there, and they were prepared to handle her if things got out of hand. She tried to break into the house. She was angry, shouting at me, trying to get me to let her in. I didn't respond. She broke a window, but I didn't move. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, calm, numb. She kept screaming at me, calling me names, saying she had nowhere to go. When she hit me, I just let her. I didn't flinch. She tried scratching my face, but the deputies restrained her. I didn't press charges. I just wanted her gone. I didn't care anymore. She was finally removed, and I was left standing there in my own home, blood on my face. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel anything. I just felt empty. The last 2 months had taken everything out of me. I thought I would feel better when it was all over, but it didn't. I felt like I had eaten a crap sandwich, and it was the only taste left in my mouth. The next part of this nightmare was dealing with the aftermath. My phone was still blowing up with texts from her and her friends, asking me why I was doing this, asking for answers. I couldn't even look at it anymore. I didn't care about them. I just wanted to be left alone. The next few days were a blur. I felt like I was just moving through the motions, like a robot. Everything had come crashing down, and while I didn't feel the relief I expected, I also didn't feel the anger or rage anymore. I felt hollow. Everything that had mattered to me for the past 5 years was gone, and what was left, just pieces of a life that had been torn apart. I met with my lawyer a couple of days after the incident, and we started working through the divorce process. It was an uncontested divorce. She didn't fight it. I guess she knew it was coming. It was all happening so quickly. As soon as she signed the papers, everything would be final. The hardest part was knowing I wasn't going to have her in my life anymore. It felt like a huge weight hanging over me, but the weight wasn't lifting. It was just there, a constant reminder of everything that went wrong. I had hoped I'd feel something: relief, happiness, maybe even just a little peace, but all I felt was empty. She signed the divorce papers, but there was nothing celebratory about it. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel like I'd won. The reality was, I had lost. I lost everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and family. There were moments when I thought about what could have been, the family we could have been, the life we could have built, but those thoughts just didn't matter anymore. I wasn't going to waste any more energy on her, on us. I got to the point where I just wanted to be left alone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I wanted to shut down, close the door, and walk away from it all. But then, as the divorce process moved forward, I started thinking more about my son. He was the one thing in my life that had remained constant. I was doing this for him. I had to be strong. I couldn't let this destruction ruin everything for him. I spent more time focusing on him, trying to be the dad he needed. Even though he was growing up, I knew he still needed me. That was the only thing that kept me going. I had to keep it together for him. I promised myself I'd be better, that I wouldn't let my past mistakes define me. The legal part of the divorce was finalized after 2 long months. It was official, we were done. She got a lump sum from our savings, $73,000. I kept everything else, the house, the retirement funds, everything that mattered to me. The only thing that I couldn't keep was the piece of me that she had taken. That was the most painful part. The knowledge that no matter what I did, I would always have that part missing. I didn't feel free, though. I felt like a part of me had been stolen, and no amount of money or possessions could replace it. I had learned the hard way. I had been naive to think I could trust her, to believe in our future. But now, the only thing left was the wreckage. I started getting a little back to normal, slowly. My friends were supportive, though I pushed them away at times. I didn't want to be a burden to anyone, and I couldn't bear to hear the "I told you so's" from people who had seen the signs and said nothing. I bought a new puppy, a little chihuahua named Dulce. She was sweet, funny, and brought me comfort when I needed it most. I needed something positive in my life, and she became a constant companion. It was funny, because Dulce was always there, wagging her tail, happy to see me. It was a feeling I hadn't had in months, but she reminded me that not all love was tainted. There was still good in the world. As time passed, I realized something. I couldn't keep holding on to this bitterness. I couldn't keep letting it destroy me. The pain would always be there, but I couldn't let it define me. I had to move forward, for myself and for my son. The divorce had been a long time coming, and even though I had lost a lot, I still had the most important thing, my son. I would always have him. I just had to learn to be the best version of myself. It wasn't going to be easy, but I had to keep going. Looking back on everything, I felt ashamed of the mistakes I made, of letting someone into my life who would treat me like that, but I wasn't going to let it ruin me. I had learned, and I was done with that chapter. I've come a long way since then. The scars will always be there, but they're part of who I am now. I'm not going to let them control me. I'm rebuilding one step at a time. I don't know what the future holds, but for the first time in a while, I feel like I can face it.